Good morning, Jugjiv sir. Good morning to everyone present here,
Good morning.
and welcome to my good school. I could see a few new students here, a few names here. So for everyone, we all do three book reading simultaneously, like one after another. And how we do is like we start with English book reading first, two English book readings. After that, the third book will be the Hindi book reading, which is from Ruskin Bond. So Brinda ma'am is going to read a book, and that is My Family and Other Animals. And then sir is also going to read a book, which is What You Are Looking For Is in the Library. And the third book reading is Shamli Mithera Vakt, which is by Ruskin Bond. When we read, we reflect, we discuss, and in case you have any doubt, you all can get back and let us know what your doubt is. So we do understand your doubt and we are going to solve it out. That is the first thing. Secondly, I'll request everyone, if you want to talk, please raise your hand so that I can unmute you. Secondly, you can also write in the chat box about your doubt, about your questions, your queries, and we are going to solve that for you. Please don't use the question and answer. Use the chat box. That'll be comfortable for us so that we can revert.
Manisha, you're a little indistinct today, not
My
loud
voice,
enough.
my voice is not clear.
Yeah, now it is better. Good
Okay.
morning, Jugjiv. You're on mute, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, when I put on my computer, everything seemed to be working better than normal, but eventually it caught up with me. So, anyway, this is how it works all the time. So we are at 10:30. So before we start, I just wanted to say that we're very privileged to have Brinda read for us because she is the recipient of the Snehlata Prize for this year. The Snehlata Prize, the literary award presented by School News that honors educators and individuals who significantly contribute to fostering a lifelong love of reading among school children in India. So, thank you, Brinda, for what you do for us, and thank you
Thank
for being
you.
this part.
It's been my passion and my pleasure. And thank you for this. I should say a big thank you to School News and EBD for this recognition. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, ma'am. And we are blessed that we are attending your session and we are going to learn something from
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
So, with that note, I'll start with my good school anthem and then
Yeah.
I'll pass it on to ma'am. Just give me a minute. I'll share my screen.
So cool. We are here at my good school. Things here are so
So audible?
Yeah,
cool. Together we learn, together we create, together we meditate. Everyone is welcome. Teachers here are awesome. We learn good values, we learn many skills. We soar above the hills. Let's shout it out, hey, let's all be proud, hey, hats off to my good school. Just what we need, hey, for us to succeed, hey, are all here in my good school.
Thank you, everyone. So, ma'am, do you wish to say something or shall I start my
We
screen?
can start, and I think, as we always do, we can read some of the reflections which are there, if there are any. Last week we had quite a number, and we did
We
spend
have.
a lot of time reading those. So today we can reverse the order. I read first, and then we can read the reflections, if it is all right with you and Jugjiv, sir.
Sure, ma'am.
Right. Okay. So you can display the book. So, good morning to everybody who has assembled here for the Sunday reading session. We start this morning session with a reading of My Family and Other Animals by Gerald Durrell. Those of you who may have joined us new, let me just quickly tell you a little bit about the book that we are reading. We are reading this book by Gerald Durrell. Gerald Durrell is, or rather was, a naturalist who had a keen interest in every creature and in nature as such. And he was the only person who set up his own zoo in New Jersey, and his main intention was to look after endangered species of animals. So while he was a child, his older brother, Lawrence Durrell, and the rest of the family moved to an island called Corfu Island in Greece. And that is where he spent his childhood being homeschooled and having some excellent home tutors who increased his interest in nature and in the creatures of nature and made him study all these various animals, birds, insects very closely and collect them too. So Gerald started writing the books when he needed funds to look after the zoo, and he started and established the World Wildlife Fund, which is known as WWF commonly. And I'm sure a lot of you students know about WWF. So this is what was his contribution to the world. And using his sense of humor and his excellent command over the English language, he brings to us many of the adventures that he and his family had on the island of Corfu. So we are on part 3 of the book, and let's start with the reading. So the part 3, chapter 13, as you may know, and those who were there yesterday, last week, last Sunday, would remember that the family had decided to move this time to a smaller villa, to a smaller house, because they did not want a certain relative of their mother, an aunt of hers, to come and be a bother to all of them. So they decided this time to move to a smaller house. And so now the next villa that they're going to is the Snow White Villa. Those who have been listening regularly to the reading may remember the previous two villas too. Perched on a hilltop among olive trees, the new villa, white as snow, and a broad veranda running along one side, which was hung with a thick pelmet of grapevine. In front of the house was a pocket handkerchief sized garden, neatly walled, which was a solid tangle of wild flowers. The whole garden was overshadowed by a large magnolia tree, the glossy dark green leaves of which cast a deep shadow. The rutted driveway wound away from the house, down the hillside, through olive groves, vineyards, and orchards before reaching the road. So, again, we see a beautiful example of imagery and a beautiful description of this villa, which had a very, very small garden, but which had plenty of flowering trees. Magnolia is the name of a flower. It does grow in India, particularly in certain colder places. Dehradun has quite a few magnolia flower trees. We had liked the villa the moment Spyro had shown it to us. It stood decrepit but immensely elegant among the drunken olives and looked rather like an 18th century exquisite reclining among a congregation of char ladies. Its charms had been greatly enhanced, from my point of view, by the discovery of a bat in one of the rooms, clinging upside down to a shutter and chittering with dark malevolence. So here's a description of what Gerald found of interest when they were going around the house. He saw that in one of the rooms there was a bat which was hanging. You know that bats hang upside down from the roof or from the ceiling. So he had found a bat in the room. It was clinging upside down to a shutter and it was making a noise, chittering with dark malevolence. The word malevolence actually means evil. Now you know that bats are not generally associated with anything that is very pleasant. Bats are generally associated with evil, with darkness, with things which are not so pleasant. So that's why he uses this description. I had hoped that he would continue to spend the day in the house, but as soon as we moved in, he decided that the place was getting overcrowded and departed to some peaceful olive trunk. I regretted his decision, but having many other things to occupy me, I soon forgot about him. It was at the White Villa that I got on really intimate terms with the mantids. Up until then, I had seen them occasionally prowling through the myrtles, but I had never taken very much notice of them. Now they forced me to take notice of them, for the hilltop on which the villa stood contained hundreds, and most of them were much larger than any I had seen before. They squatted disdainfully on the olives, among the myrtles, on the smooth green magnolia leaves, and at night they would converge on the house, whirring into the lamplight with their green wings churning like the wheels of ancient paddle steamers, to alight on the tables or chairs and stalk mincingly about, turning their heads from side to side in search of prey, regarding us fixedly from bulbous eyes in chinless faces. I had never realized before that mantids could grow so large, for some of the specimens that visited us were fully 4.5 inches long. These monsters feared nothing and would, without hesitation, attack something as big or as bigger than themselves. These insects seemed to consider that the house was their property and the walls and the ceilings their legitimate hunting grounds. But the geckos that lived in the cracks in the garden wall also considered the house their hunting ground, and so the mantids and the geckos waged a constant war against each other. Most of the battles were skirmishes between individual members of the two forms of animals. But as they were generally well matched, the fights rarely came to much. Occasionally, however, there would be a battle really worth watching. I was lucky enough to have a grandstand view of such a fight, for it took place above, on, and in my bed. During the day, most of the geckos lived under the loose plaster on the garden wall. Now, you'll all remember geckos. Geckos are like house lizards, okay, but much bigger in size. As the sun sank and the cool shadow of the magnolia tree enveloped the house and the garden, they would appear, thrusting their small heads out of the cracks and staring interestedly around with their golden eyes. Gradually, they slid out onto the wall, their flat bodies and stubby, almost conical tails looking ash gray in the twilight. They would move cautiously across the moss-patched wall until they reached the safety of the vine over the veranda, and there wait patiently until the sky grew dark and the lamps were lit. Then they would choose their hunting areas and make their way to them across the wall of the house, some to the bedrooms, some to the kitchen, while others remained on the veranda among the vine leaves. There was a particular gecko that had taken over my bedroom as his hunting ground, and I grew to know him quite well and christened him Geronimo, since his assaults on the insect life seemed to me as cunning and as well planned as anything that famous Red Indian had achieved. Geronimo seemed to be a cut above the other geckos. To begin with, he lived alone under a large stone in the zinnia bed beneath my window, and he would not tolerate another gecko anywhere near his home. Nor, for that matter, would he allow any strange gecko to enter my bedroom. I'm sure amongst our student audience here, we have quite a few who have been fans of Geronimo. And you would probably know what is this allusion over here to Geronimo. What does it allude to? What is it referring to? Does anybody know who Geronimo actually was? There is a clue here that he was a Red Indian chief. But if you are fans of Geronimo, how many of you are fans of Geronimo? I'm sure quite a few of you are. This is, of course, a webinar session, so it'll be difficult to get your responses. But those of who are fans of Geronimo may have at some point of time tried to find out why was that character named Geronimo in the book, right? And now you can find out further. And here is Gerald Durrell, who has named that gecko Geronimo because he thinks that Geronimo, this gecko, was very, very brave, and he had made Gerald's room his hunting ground. He rose earlier than the others of his kind, coming out from beneath his stone while the wall and the house were still suffused with pale sunset light. He would scuttle up the flaky white plaster precipice until he reached my bedroom window and poke his head over the sill, peering through curiously and nodding his head rapidly 2 or 3 times, whether in greeting to me or in satisfaction at finding the room as he had left it. I could never make up my mind. He would sit on the windowsill, gulping to himself until it got dark and a light was brought in. In the lamp's golden gleam, he seemed to change color from ash gray to a pale, translucent, pinky pearl that made his neat pattern of goose pimples stand out and made his skin look so fine and thin that you felt it should be transparent so that you could see the viscera coiled neatly as a butterfly's proboscis in his fat tummy. Now, those of you who have watched lizards in the house attacking and swallowing an insect or a cockroach would actually understand this description of Gerald. If you have seen it, you would know that as the prey which the lizard has swallowed travels within its body, it almost looks as if we can make out the shape of that traveling within his body. His eyes glowing with enthusiasm, he would waddle up the wall to his favorite spot, the left-hand outside corner of the ceiling, and hang there, upside down, waiting for his evening meal to appear. The food was not long in arriving. The first shoal of gnats, mosquitoes, and ladybirds, which Geronimo ignored, was very soon followed by the daddy long legs, the lace-winged flies, the smaller moths, and some of the most robust beetles. So all these insects were in Gerald's room, right? All the ones he has mentioned. Daddy long legs are those grasshopper kind of, those, even mantids are something like that that he's talking about. Watching Geronimo's talking tactics was quite an education. A lace swing or a moth, having spun round the lamp until it was dizzy, would flutter up and settle on the ceiling in the white circle of lamplight printed there. Geronimo, hanging upside down in his corner, would stiffen. He would nod his head 2 or 3 times very rapidly and then start to edge across the ceiling cautiously, millimeter by millimeter, his bright eyes on the insect in a fixed stare. Slowly he would slide over the plaster until he was 6 inches or so away from his prey, whereupon he stopped for a second, and you could see his padded toes moving as he made his grip on the plaster more secure. His eyes would become more protuberant with excitement. What he imagined to be a look of blood-curdling ferocity would spread over his face. The tip of his tail would twitch minutely, and then he would skim across the ceiling as smoothly as a drop of water. There would be a faint snap, and he would turn round, an expression of smug happiness on his face, the lace wing inside his mouth with its leg and wings trailing over his lips like a strange, quivering walrus mustache. He would wag his tail vigorously, like an excited puppy, and then trot back to his resting place to consume his meal in comfort. He had incredibly sharp eyesight, for I frequently saw him spot a minute moth from the other side of the room and circle the ceiling in order to get near enough for the capture. His attitude towards rivals who tried to usurp his territory was very straightforward. No sooner had they hauled themselves over the edge of the sill and settled down for a short rest after the long climb up the side of the villa than there would be a scuffling noise, and Geronimo would flash across the ceiling and down the wall to land on the window sill with a faint thump. Before the newcomer could make a move, Geronimo would rush forward and leap on him. The curious thing was that, unlike the other geckos, he did not attack the head or body of his enemy. He made straight for his opponent's tail and, seizing it in his mouth, about half an inch from the tip, he would hang on like a bulldog and shake it from side to side. The newcomer, unnerved by this dastardly and unusual mode of attack, immediately took refuge in the time-honored protective device of the lizards. He would drop his tail and scuttle over the edge of the sill and down the wall to the zinnia bed as fast as he could. Geronimo, panting a little from the exertion, would be left standing triumphantly on the sill, his opponent's tail hanging out of his mouth and thrashing to and fro like a snake. Having made sure his rival had departed, Geronimo would then settle down and proceed to eat the tail, a disgusting habit of which I strongly disapproved. However, it was apparently his way of celebrating a victory, and he was not really happy until the tail was safely inside his bulging stomach. Most of the mantids that flew into my room were fairly small. Geronimo was always eager to tackle them, but they were too quick for him. Unlike the other insects, the mantids seemed unaffected by the lamplight. Instead of whirling round and round drunkenly, they would calmly settle in a convenient spot and proceed to devour the dancers whenever they settled to regain their strength. Their bulbous eyes seemed just as keen as the geckos, and they would always spot him and move hurriedly, long before he had crept within fighting range. The night of the great fight, however, he met a mantis that not only refused to fly away, but actually went to meet him, and it was almost more than he could cope with. I had for some time been intrigued by the breeding habits of the mantids. I had watched the unfortunate male crouching on the back of a female who, with complete equanimity, was browsing on him over her shoulder. Even after his head and thorax had disappeared into the female's neat mouth, his hinder end continued to do its duty. Having watched their rather savage love life, I was now very anxious to see the laying and hatching of the eggs. My chance came one day when I was in the hills, and I came face to face, as it were, with an exceptionally large female mantis who was stalking regally through the grass. Her belly was distended, and I felt sure that she was expecting a happy event. Having paused, swaying from side to side on her slender legs and surveyed me coldly, she continued on her way, mincing through the grass tops. I decided that the best thing to do would be to capture her so that she could lay her eggs in a box where I could watch over them in comfort. As soon as she realized that I was attempting to capture her, she whirled round and stood up on her end, her pale jade green wings outspread, her toothed arms curved upwards in a warning gesture of defiance. Amused at her belligerence towards a creature so much bigger than herself, I casually caught her round the thorax between finger and thumb. Instantly, her long, sharp arms reached over her back and closed on my thumb, and it felt as though half a dozen needles had been driven through the skin. In my surprise, I dropped her and sat back to suck my wound. I found that 3 of the little punctures had gone really deep, and that by squeezing, tiny drops of blood appeared. My respect for her increased. She was obviously an insect to be reckoned with. At the next attempt, I was more cautious and used 2 hands, grabbing her round the thorax with one and holding on to her dangerous front arms with the other. She wiggled ineffectually and tried to bite me with her jaws, lowering her evil little pointed face and nibbling at my skin. But her jaws were too weak to have any effect. I carried her home and imprisoned her in a large gauze-covered cage in my bedroom, tastefully decorated with ferns, heather, and rocks, among which she moved with light-footed grace. I christened her Cicely for no obvious reason and spent a lot of time catching butterflies for her, which she ate in large quantities and with apparently undiminishing appetite, while her stomach got bigger and bigger. Just when I was certain that at any moment she would lay her eggs, she somehow or the other found a hole in her cage and escaped. All right, we shall stop here for now today, as it is almost 11, and I would like to request Jugjiv sir or Manisha ma'am to go to the reflections of the last Sunday's reading session, if there are any. And if there are any children here who would like to share anything, you're most welcome to do so.
There are some reflections, ma'am.
Yes.
There are some reflections, and Manisha is just sharing them. So there was this one, Manisha, which somehow I couldn't get. I saw it on, on the group, but I couldn't find it here, which was from Lehertara, which was like a YouTube video.
Oh.
But it had, writing, so it was a little innovatively presented. That a lot of reflections on my family and other animals.
Right. That's nice.
find it in here.
We are here
This
at
is the
my
problem.
good school.
Manisha, please tell him.
Yeah, the song starts the moment you go onto the page here.
Yes. Ah, this one.
Oh, this is lovely.
Yeah. So the challenge, this we have a a very innovative editor here. So
Okay.
he did something very innovative last time as well.
Oh,
We are here at my good school.
I think you have to stop it for somebody to read it, that I'd imagine.
yeah. So it says during today's chapter discussion, the central theme that stood out to me was what are you looking for in the library? This thought really resonated with me because it highlights that the answers, knowledge, and growth we seek are often already available to us if we take the time to look, read, and explore resources like the library. It reminds us of the importance of self study, curiosity, and utilizing the tools around us to find deeper meaning in our learning. Thank you for a wonderful session. I look forward to exploring these ideas. This is full of fun. Okay, very nice.
So
So
this
the
is
key takeaways are also here, if you can see on the right
Yeah,
side.
answers are within reach. Read, explore, and discover. Curiosity opens new doors. Use the tools around you. Keep learning, keep growing. The library is where questions turn into answers and dreams turn into plans. Wonderful. Books are keys to wisdom's treasure. The more you read, the more you grow.
This
Very
is
good.
a very nice and a beautiful way to present this. So I'm going
Yeah, and I like
forward.
that little cup
Ansh.
there in the corner which says read, reflect, grow. Wonderfully done.
Yeah. This is by Ansh
Of class 8A,
8A.
yes.
Sunbeam.
And there's a whole lot of takeaways on My Family and Other Animals. It says the book My Family and Other Animals is full of fun, adventure, and love for nature. Is there anyone who wants to read it? Maybe
Yeah, there are.
Aditya?
Claudia, you have to you have to raise your hand, and then Manisha ma'am will unmute you, and
already
that's how you will
unmuted,
get
sir,
to
quite a
read.
few.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So just look at that, Manisha, and just call them.
Ma'am, can I read?
Faizan.
Yes, Fazan, you may go ahead.
The book My Family and Other Animal is full of fun, adventure, and love for nature. It tells the story of Gerald Durrell childhoods on Corfu's Island in Greece.
Corfu Island.
Corfu Island in Greece. The book shows how many members of his family has a unique personality. Journal's love for animals makes the story interesting and enjoyable.
Okay, maybe we can ask Swadesh to read. He wants to read. Manisha ma'am, can you unmute him? He can read from the next point.
Yeah, Sunbeam Varuna School Swaraj.
Swadesh.
Swadesh. I cannot see Ma'am Swadesh.
Okay. He just made a request on the chat box.
Yeah, no, but there's some who are already unmuted and hands are up. Rudra Pratap Chauhan, you want to read?
Yeah,
Unmute quickly.
Okay.
Okay,
Swaraj.
Ansh, sorry, we should ask you to read. You wrote a lovely post. Yes, Ansh, read Aditya's post. Aditya's there. Aditya, please read.
Aditya, would you like to read your post?
Aditya is already unmuted.
Yeah.
Aditya,
So, Aditya?
Jared's love for family makes the
Yeah,
story.
read Aditya.
Yes, ma'am, reading. Jared's love for families makes the story interesting and enjoyable. The beautiful description of birds, flowers, and other creatures bring nature to life. The funny family conversation add humor to the story. The book teaches us to observe nature with care and curiosity. It's also so that every family has funny and memorable moments. Jared's adventure inspired us to explore the world around us. The simple language makes the book easy to understand. It is both entertaining and educational. The story helps us to appreciate nature and family. Overall, this book is very uh, joyful and inspiring.
And leaves a lasting impression. Okay. All
That's
right.
wonderful. I would just like to know from you, Aditya, what was the inspiration behind your presentation? Is like the way your school has sent the reflection. It is very beautiful, and we all loved and enjoyed reading it. So, what was the inspiration behind? Was there any inspiration, or you just wanted to present your work? Like, what makes you present in this way? Aditya or anyone from the school? Okay, I'll go forward.
Together we learn, together we
Next, we have Kaushik Jaiswal. Is Kaushik Jaiswal
Okay, so
present now?
this is the background that all of them have used. Okay. Kaushik, are you there?
Not unmuted. We missed Ansh. Ansh was read by
Yeah.
somebody else. So Ansh, you want to read?
I want to read.
Yeah, please read, Ansh.
My family and other animals reminded that curiosity makes learning more meaningful. Gerard Durrell's
Fascination.
fascination with nature inspired me to observe my surroundings more carefully and ap- appreciate the beauty in even the smallest living creatures. It encouraged me to stay curious and keep learning from everyday experiences.
Okay. I just want to tell all of you students here that the word creatures is pronounced as creatures. Creature, not creature. When you just use create, it is create. But when you have this spelling of the word, it's creature. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Next.
create, together we meditate.
Now, this is from Devansh Singh. Devansh, are you there? Devansh.
Library is the most
Rudra, just give me 1 minute. I'll just see if Devansh is there or not, and then you may read. No, it's not there, I believe. Okay, please go ahead. Rudra Pratap, you may read this.
a library is a much more than a place filled with books. When I visit a library, I look for knowledge, inspiration, and a quiet environment where I
Environment. Say
environment,
environment.
environment where I can push
Focus.
on focus on learning. It gives me across to a
Access. Beta, it's access. It gives me access.
give me access to a wide range of
Resources.
resources that help me improve my understanding of different subjects and
Broaden
broaden my pers-
perspective.
perspective.
Okay, maybe someone else can read the other two sentences
I
there,
request
ma'am.
Arfa to please read this. Arfa, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please read.
What I am looking for in the library. A library is much
Beta,
more than a
read
place.
from the second point. The first point has already been read. read from I also look for books.
I also look for books that match my interests, whether they are related to my studies, personal development, or hobbies. Reading different authors and viewpoints helps me think critically and become a more informed person.
Yeah, carry on.
Overall, what I am looking for in the library is not just information, but an opportunity to grow intellectually and personally. Every visit offers a chance to discover something new and become a lifelong learner.
Okay, great.
Everyone is welcome.
Ankit Raj, in case you are not there, we request somebody else to read this.
Shashwat wants to read.
Yeah, ma'am, he can go ahead.
Shashwat, unmute and read, please.
Uh, Today's good school session conducted by Brinda ma'am was engaging and meaningful. She explained the importance of developing good habits, maintaining discipline, and treating everyone with kindness and respect. For interactive approach kept everyone involved and made the session enjoyable. One of the key lessons I learned was that even simple acts of honesty, responsibility, and helping others can create a positive impact on ourselves and these around us. The practical examples she shared made the message easy to understand and remember. Overall, the session was motivating and encouraged me to practice these values in everyday life. I took forward to applying what I have learned to become a more responsible, respectful, and compassionate student.
Teachers here are awesome. We learn good values.
Is Keshav there? Yes, Keshav, are you unmuted?
Yes, I've unmuted him. Keshav, you may read
Okay.
your post.
Read, Keshav. Can't hear you. No, can't hear you, Keshav. Shaurya, you want to read? Shaurya, you have to unmute yourself. You've been wanting to read. Swaraj from
Okay,
Sunbeam Varuna.
sir, am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah,
we can
now
hear
you
you,
are.
Keshav.
Okay, sir. So, in this chapter, the Durrell family receives a letter from great aunt Hermione saying that she wants to come and stay with them. Instead of feeling happy, the whole family becomes worried because they know she is difficult to please and always complains about her health. Larry and the others come up with funny excuses to stop her from visiting, and finally, they decide that moving to a smaller house is the best solution. I enjoyed this chapter because it is full of humor and shows how each family member has a unique personality. Larry is dramatic and creative, while Mother stays calm and practical. Their funny arguments made me laugh and showed how close families can be even when they disagree. This chapter also teaches that family life is not always perfect, but love and understanding help people deal with difficult situations. Gerald Durrell uses simple language and amusing conversations to make ordinary family problems entertaining. Thank you.
All right. I think you should go on with the next session, Mr. Jugjiv sir, or are there more?
Yeah. No, there are more, but just I want, I want Manisha, please get to the end because the editor obviously puts a lot of effort, so we should acknowledge
Yeah.
the editor.
We learn many skills, we soar above the hills. Let's shout it out.
So this is also very good. The vocabulary is also mentioned here. The takeaways are also here. So yes, this one particular post we all loved it. So thank you, Sunbeam, who still that there. I'll just run through this as we are falling short of time and we cannot read all.
Hey, let's all be proud. Hey, hats off to my good school. Just what we need, hey, for us to
Very well
succeed.
done.
Hey,
Editor-in-chief is Krishna Vasudev. Good.
Yeah,
Well done,
yeah,
Krishna.
So big
yeah.
shout out for Krishna. Thank you so much. We really loved it.
Very nice. Thank you, everybody. We shall meet again next Sunday and read further. Have a good Sunday.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
ma'am.
So while Manisha ma'am changes to the next book, which is what you're looking for is in the library. Quick recap for some of you who were not there. Uh, the story is about Hiroya. Hiroya is 30 years old, but he's not employed or in education or in training. He feels bad about it, but he's not really doing that much about it. And so, obviously, when you're in that situation, you sort of end up living in your own world, and you feel like you're in a rut. It's not that he hasn't tried; he's tried, but somehow he's failed at all the jobs that he tried to take up. His passion really was drawing and illustrating, and he went to design school after finishing his schooling. But after that, he wasn't able to find the right job, and so that's how he landed up like this. He discovers the community library and Miss Komachi, and Miss Komachi suggests, suggests a book for him, which is on evolution, and he starts to read about Darwin and Wallace. And if you are not familiar with this theory of evolution, you should. You should Google it. I mean, this is how mankind has evolved. So it's something that it's worth knowing for sure. So he draws, a particular bird, Confucius, and he thinks that he does a really good job of it, obviously, and but he doesn't think much of it himself, and he's about to throw it away. And Nozomi, who's the assistant librarian, wants to keep it. Then another subsequent visit, he hears Nozomi's story of how she had difficulties in school and how being encouraged by Miss Komachi, incidentally, who used to be a special needs teacher in their school, helped her a lot, and she's able to speak very casually about a difficult time, and that's what uh, Hiroya finds very interesting. And what has just happened is that she has basically said that she really likes what he's drawing, and that he has talent, and that it's what the point she's made to him is it's not necessary that everybody will like what you're doing, but there will be some people who will really like what you're doing. So because of that, he is walking on air. That's where we're reading from now. On my way home, I feel like I'm walking on air. But when I arrive, Mom is on the phone, deep in conversation. Instantly, I know who's on the other end. A bright voice is a dead giveaway. We're reading chapter 4. Somebody was asking. Next page, Manisha, ma'am. Your brother's coming back to Japan in April, she tells me happily as she hangs up. All of a sudden, I feel the air sucked out of my lungs. A voice pings in my brain. Air sucked out of my lungs? Does anybody know that feeling? When do you get that feeling? Air sucked out of your lungs? Anybody? Right? And suddenly you get sudden shock, sudden bad news, and you actually either stop breathing or you feel as if you can't breathe. Okay, that's the feeling. She's been assigned back to the Tokyo head office to join a new department. I knew this day would come. Oh, nice, I say, and head for the bathroom. So she won't see how upset I am. Water splashes everywhere as I scrub my hands vigorously and wash my face. One line from the evolution book keeps running through my brain. Favorable variations would tend to be preserved and unfavorable ones to be destroyed. This is what is called the natural selection theory. Okay. Favorable variations would tend to be preserved and unfavorable ones to be destroyed. Big bro, the achiever, huh? He's always been that way, ever since we were kids. We may be related, but I am nothing like him. I was always the timid, anxious type. Timid is somebody who's afraid. Right? He was in middle school and I was in elementary when mom and dad split up. Two of us stayed with mom and he started studying harder than ever. He always looked angry. Maybe he was mad at dad or the way our situation sucked. I don't know. But whatever it was, if I ever spoke to him, he'd just look at me like I was an insect. Right? So you can now start to see why Hiroya has become what he's become. Right? His brother is very angry at what's happened. He's working hard. Hiroya is a timid, anxious type, and so he obviously mustn't be doing much. It wasn't showing anything. And so, his brother thinks of him in a very derogatory way. Right? So you can start to see where the problem started. Home was too small and cramped, and I didn't want to get in his way. That's why I used to go to Kitami Manga Cafe after school. But when we moved to Tokyo, where it was easier for mom to find work with hours that fitted it with raising children on her own, so that was the end of Manga Cafe for me. Eventually, he won a scholarship to university and after graduating, joined a trading company, and mom was able next page, Manisha, ma'am, to quit full-time work. It had been really tough for her, so she was glad to switch to a part-time position at her favorite bakery instead. 4 years ago, Big Bro was posted to Germany, and I have to say I was glad. When he's around, I can't help feeling like the worst example of a human being ever. But I tried, I really did. I did my best to find a job, but I just couldn't pull it off. Okay, so now you can see, what's happened. His sibling has treated him with a lot of disdain and looking down upon him, no giving him no respect, and so he started to feel that he can't do anything, and that's where these things start. So and I mean, it's not that his brother was doing it intentionally, right? He just behaved in a particular manner, and that's what had an impact on the younger brother, right? And because the elder brother was trying hard, he must have been getting praise from everybody, especially the mother. And so he grew up very differently from how Hiroya grew up, and that's what caused the issues that Hiroya is facing now. And this is very true for many of us. What happens, the wounds of our childhood, our trauma carry into when you're much older. So Nozomi, the assistant librarian, we read her story last time of how her mother realized what was happening with her, and she told the teacher, and the teacher took some corrective action, and she became normal. So if anybody feels something like that, you feel something is not correct, you must always raise it with somebody whom you're comfortable raising it with, your parents, your teacher, some other relative. It's very important to deal with these issues when you're small if you feel something. After design school, I found a position as a sales rep in a company that made educational materials for crammers and home study. During the day, I went out and did the rounds. At the end of it, I made phone calls. But I'm not good at talking, and all I ever did was get under people's skin. It made me feel like shit. I would never achieve my quotas, and my boss was always mad at me. If you really wanted to do it, you could, he'd say, or you're totally useless. Shit like that. Right? So, this is a book which was published in 2022, and as you can see, the writer uses reasonably colorful language, stuff that you're unlikely to find in Gerald Durrell or in Ruskin Bond. But anyway, so what is your thought on how what's happening now, right? So Hiroya is saying that I'm not good at talking, and all I ever did was get under people's skin. Okay. Uh, he I could never achieve my quotas. My boss was always mad at me. If you really wanted to do it, you could, he'd say. Do you think it's true or not? If you really wanted to do it, you could. What is your thought? Either you unmute yourself and speak or put it in chat. What do you think about this line? If you really wanted to do it, you could. What is your thought? If you really want to do something, can you do it? What do you all think? Nisha Kumari says yes. Anybody else? If you really want to do something, can you do that?
Yes, sir.
Ashutosh Tony says yes.
Certainly, we can do that, sir. And that is how the saying goes, where there is a will, there is a way out. So, if we want to
Right.
do
So,
something from our
so
side, we'll get motivated. Intrinsic motivation will certainly be there, and that is going to help us complete the task.
right, right. And many times the trouble is just starting, right? The problem is just starting. If you just start, you take the first small step, then momentum will carry you forward. But what
That
is Hiroya's problem? Why isn't he thinking like this? Why does he think that I can't do this? Right? He said, I'm not good at talking. Right? He's decided he's not good at talking. Right? And that's what happens. Because of how he's thinking about himself, he's decided he's not good at talking. If you're not good at talking and that's your job, what will you do? What would you do if you were in his position? Right? What would you do? What would you do if you were in his position? Right? You all agreed that if you want to do something, you can. So now he's in a position and he somehow thinks, okay, let me try. He didn't believe in himself, absolutely. That's the reason. So now, what would you do in a situation like this? What would you do? What would you do? I just gave you a suggestion. Just start. You can try. You can get this. You can pick up some skills, right? If you have basic common sense, and you'd be able to figure out. It can't be that tough, no? But if your mindset is that I can't do this, then you won't be able to do it, right? So, as you all have agreed, if you really want to do it, you could. Okay. After a month, my body refused to move. I couldn't make myself get out of bed. If I did manage to drag myself to the front door, just trying to put my shoes on would freeze my brain. The whole body would go rigid and tears dripped from the eyes like a leaky tap. The more I tried to make myself move, the more my body just seized up. I was a total mess. I just couldn't function anymore, so I quit. And I'm embarrassed to say, Mom did all the paperwork for me. I'm such a deadbeat. Somebody who avoids things. I couldn't even do that for myself. But you see, because he, is coming off, childhood trauma, where he's been made to feel that he's no good. So he's grown up thinking that this is he's no good and he can't do things. So when he has to, like he was saying, he was wanting, he has to go to work or something, his brain would freeze, and that's normal because our brain primary job is to keep us safe, right? And so what happens is that if you listen to the mind and run away from uncomfortable things or things which seem difficult, the brain will be happy that you did that and make you feel comfortable, and you continue to stay in that comfortable situation. So that's what the brain makes you do. That's why it's important always to push the envelope, not give up when you face struggle, to actually literally welcome struggle, because struggle is what makes you better, right? But he gave up because largely deadbeat is when somebody avoids something. There are different meanings, but that's what it means in this context. Uh, okay, so let's go on. He had a background, so that's why mentally he was in a rut and he wasn't able to get out of it. This happens to many people, and that's the point of the story, right? I had some time off, and then I thought I should at least look for part time work. But in all the convenience stores or fast food joints, you have to be able to do a lot of tasks fast and at the same time. I used to make so many mistakes. Somebody asked what convenience is. Convenience is something that makes things easy. Like, so you have neighborhood stores, right, where you quickly go and get something. So that's what a convenience store is. That all I did was cause trouble and never lasted more than 2 weeks. Then I tried working for a removal company but could barely stand up after the first day, so I quit the next. There is probably no job on earth that I'm capable of doing. So this is the problem, right? He thinks before he gets in there that things are difficult, I can't do this, and that's what ends up happening, right? So, and to be fair to him, it's something that developed in his childhood, and he kept going into it more and more. Probably, probably means maybe. There's probably no job on earth that I'm capable of doing. Mom looks on top of the world, and why shouldn't she? A talented, dependable, successful son is coming home, returning from a distant country by plane, something I've never been on. And she's talking about us going to meet him at the airport. Ah, not a chance. In this family, he's the one who evolved. I'm the unfavorable variation. Anybody who's been on a plane would like to tell us how it felt for the first time? How did it feel when you went on a plane for the first time? Anybody? Chapter name is 4, also on Hiroya. Anybody? First time you went on a plane, how did it feel?
I don't exactly remember the first time I went on a plane because I was really young. But in general, my experience is during the takeoff, I get really nervous and scared because of the force that's coming on us. And then when we are like soaring in the sky at first, then my ears start ringing, and uh, then turbulence happens, the plane moves up and down. That's really nerve wracking. But once the plane becomes stable, I start enjoying the view outside.
Yeah, I was on a flight where I went to Jammu and I was coming back, and I normally sit in the aisle seat, but this time I chose the window seat. Uh, and I mean, I was looking out of the window, and I mean, I hadn't seen outside the window of a plane for a really long time. It was so fascinating, to be above the clouds, going through the clouds, and just really, really fascinating. And I mean, I've been flying for many, many years, but I just felt really good, on that flight. So it felt like I was being pulled upwards. Yeah. So it's a many lovely feeling. Besides the fact that you get from one place to the other very quickly. Okay, so here we are. In this family, he's the one who is evolved. I'm the unfavorable variation. I remember the plane Miss Komachi gave me. A long time ago, probably people probably used to look up at the sky, see birds flying, and think how they'd like to fly too. They would have known, though, no matter how highly evolved humans might be, they can't grow feathers. I suppose that's how they came to build planes. Anybody feels like flying or has felt like flying? Anybody? Have you ever felt like flying? Have you ever felt like flying? Anybody ever felt like flying? Nobody? No, never felt like flying?
I have when I was a little kid. I always wanted to be a bird. So yes,
Yeah,
season, I
I
guess.
also felt like flying many times. Yeah. So Ariman says when I did bungee jumping. Yeah, that's an interesting experience. So tell us about it, Ariman. What do you feel scared when you went to it for the first time? Were you scared? Write in the chat. Chat, Ariman, did you feel scared? And how did you overcome it? Yeah, feeling like flying. It's a okay. So, what are you looking for? When Miss Komachi asked me this question, my first thought was, I'm still searching. Searching for somewhere I can be accepted as I am. Just one place is all I need. Something to be at peace. So you see now he's telling us a bit more about how he's feeling, right? He just doesn't feel accepted, and that's what causes all the anxiety. Next day I enter the library and blink when I see Miss Komachi filling the space behind the counters for checkouts and returns. Why does he blink? Why do you think he blinks? Why is he blinking? Why does he blink? Because he doesn't expect her to see her sitting there, right? So he's surprised. So Aryaman says, I was very, very scared. I was 6 then, but my cousin pushed me. And then you felt like doing it again, I'm sure. Okay, so when the first time I went on a plane, I felt dizzy and so scared I started crying. Yeah, that happens too. I remember. I think when my son also first went with us, he was scared, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen. You suddenly take off, and you don't feel gravity. So yeah, it can be scary as well. It's okay to feel what you feel. Today must be Nozomi's day off. The Honeydome box is there, and Miss Kamachi is stabbing away at a soft toy as usual. I collect my book and head straight for the reading table, muttering under my breath, or so I thought. She must really love that, but she must have hurt me. I had a student once who used to do this in the nurse's room, Miss Kamachi says, without lifting her eyes from my hands. At first, I assumed she simply enjoyed handicrafts, but after watching her, I realized it was something else. I saw that concentrating on poking a needle into a ball of wool is hypnotic. When I tried it for myself, I found that any feelings of agitation or disquiet would gradually calm down and settle. And I realized this was a means to find a sense of balance. I learned something very useful. Did I hear right? Miss Komachi has feelings of anxiety and agitation. She always looks as if nothing could fluster. I sit down and open up the evolution book, and the churning in my gut from yesterday's news begins to fade. Miss Komachi's presence close by is comforting. Her hands move constantly, and though she appears to have next page, no particular interest in me, I don't feel rejected. I am grateful, not least for her telling me I can come here anytime to read. But I can't spend the rest of my life in here reading books. Kids eventually leave school and move on to the next thing. But I don't have any specific milestone in my future that will automatically come around, and nobody to decide when something should start or finish. Creatures that can't adapt to the environment cease to exist. That's what natural selection is. In that case, I wish I could just be wiped off the face of the earth. No more life of pain, knowing I can't adapt, knowing people think I'm a useless mutant. A mutant is a like a biological freak, right? It's some particular part of the DNA hasn't worked, and you become something which is not normal, right? Let's say sometime you will may see a white pigeon, right? I mean, I've seen it go down. Very rare to see, right? Modified, yeah. I might not be the biggest talent, but if I just had a scrap of what it takes to get on in the world, I might be able to make a go of it, even if it did mean playing it a bit dirty sometimes. But I can't do it, right? But you see what impact being in a safe place is having on him? He's in the library, he's comfortable in this Kamachi, and now he's being able to get over his anxiety and go beyond that. And that's the power of being, in the company of people where you're comfortable. What did Wallace really want? Sorry, what did Wallace really think about Darwin? Did he genuinely regard Darwin as a good friend? Despite not receiving any glory for the theory of evolution, I feel an overwhelming sense of suffocation. The pain felt by anyone, anywhere, who has ever been kicked aside. I lay my head down on the still open book. What's wrong? Miss Komachi says flatly. My brain struggles to find the words. Darwin was a real prick, don't you think? Prick means a jerk. I feel sorry for Wallace. Wallace was the first to try and publish, but Darwin got all the praise and attention. I'd never even heard of Wallace until I read this book. Miss Komachi says nothing. With my head still on the table, I picture her jabbing needle. Need to be careful when reading biographies and history. I lift my head at this, and she looks me in the eye. You have to remember that it is merely one version of events, and only the parties involved can ever know the real truth. There are always numerous interpretations and hearsay about who said or did what. Misunderstandings occur even in real time. You can see that on the internet. So, when it comes to events deep in the past, it's very difficult to be sure of what is accurate. Okay, what she said, is absolutely true, right? Just think about it. Something has happened in the past, somebody has written about it, it's their version of it, right? Then somebody looks at similar things, finds some more information, maybe, maybe not, looks at it in a different way. Their version of history is different. So when we are looking at history, we also have to be very careful about this. The saying is the history is written by the victors, right? So, I mean, for many years, right? 1857 was called the Indian Mutiny, right? But now, from an Indian point of view, we call it the First War of Independence, right? Just two different sets of people calling the same thing something else. Her head leans to one side with a crack. But at least you know about Wallace now, don't you, Hiroya, from reading that book? Now he's in your thoughts, and you're making a place for him to live on in this world. Don't you think that's enough? I'm a place where Wallace lives on. Is that how you make place for somebody? One person thinking about another? Besides, Wallace is respectably famous in his own right. The Wallace line, for instance, that you see on world maps marking the distribution of fauna. I do think his achievements have been recognized. There must be so many other people who helped Wallace get where he did in life, who were also worthy of recognition, but whose names have been lost. She puts an index finger to her forehead. That aside, however, when I first read On the Origin of Species was published in 1859, my eyes nearly popped out of my head. The Wallace line, you should read about the Wallace line. The Wallace line is below the ocean between Asia and Australia. I think somewhere between Indonesia and Australia. Hey, how come? Okay, Manisha ma'am, I'm going to finish really short, 11:46. Because it was mere 160 years ago. That's very recent. My brow wrinkles. On 160 years, 160 years recent? Miss Kamachi pats the flowery hairpin in her hair. When you're close to 50, 100 years doesn't seem like an awfully long time. I almost feel I could live to 160 if I tried. Put like that, maybe it's not so long. I wouldn't put it past Miss Kumachi to live to that age. I hear her needle start to move again and look down at the book. This time I try to imagine all the people who might have been in Wallace's life, whose names are now lost to history. Okay, we'll stop here, Manisha ma'am. Chapter name is Hiroya 4 in the book. That's what it's called. Meaning of crammers, somebody wants to know. Neha wants to know the meaning of crammers. Can somebody tell her who's a crammer? Crammer. Deadbeat, I pointed out. Tripped is just drops falling. Can somebody tell Neha the meaning of crammers? Crammers. We used to use the word cram a lot when I was in school. Right? Cramming is mugging up. So crammers are somebody who mugs up. Over to you, Manisha ma'am.
गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन। पिछली बार हम कहानी पढ़ रहे थे सदाबहार कौवे की, तो छोटा सा डिस्क्रिप्शन देना चाहूंगी इस स्टोरी के बारे में। कहानी में होता क्या है कि सदाबहार कौवा जो होता है वो हर समय, चूंकि वो खाने की चीजें इकट्ठे करता रहता है दूसरों के घरों से, तो उसे लगता था कि ये उसकी राइट है कि वो कहीं भी जाके किसी भी घर में जाके वहां से सामान ले सकता है, कचड़े से खाने की चीजें को ले करके खाना और उसको शेयर करना उसकी प्रिय हैबिट थी। और वो अपने फेलो फ्रेंड्स, अपने फ्रेंड्स एंड कंपेनियंस के बारे में भी सोचता है और उनको भी काफी चीजें देता रहता है। तो सर, शुड आई रीड द रिफ्लेक्शंस फर्स्ट या मैं फिर स्टोरी से स्टार्ट कर लूं?
आपकी मर्जी, जिस तरह आप करना चाहें।
सर, मैं थोड़ा सा फिर सबको दिखाना चाहूंगी रिफ्लेक्शन, और उसके बाद मैं करूंगी रीडिंग। इस बार हिंदी की भी काफी सारी हमारे पास रिफ्लेक्शन आई है, लास्ट वीक भी आई थी। तो हम हिंदी के रिफ्लेक्शंस नहीं पढ़ पा रहे थे, तो इस बार हम कोशिश करते हैं थोड़ी सी हिंदी के रिफ्लेक्शंस पढ़ने की। जस्ट गिव मी 1 minute, आई विल शेयर इट विद यू। आशा करती हूँ कि मेरी स्क्रीन सबको दिख रही है। इज माई स्क्रीन विजिबल? दिख रही है सबको मेरी स्क्रीन?
आ रही है, आ रही है।
हाँ। तो अशोक सर, आप हैं क्या यहाँ पे, या ग्रामीण स्कूल से कोई ये पढ़ना चाहेगा? दीपिका मैम, आपका हाथ उठा हुआ है, क्या आप पढ़ना चाहेंगे इसे? कोई भी ग्रामीण स्कूल से, किसी और स्कूल से?
अंश ने लिखा है, यस।
अंश, आप पढ़ सकते हैं इसको।
Yes, ma'am, I can read.
प्लीज गो हेड।
आज की कक्षा में बच्चों को कौवे के बारे में बताया गया। आज के बच्चे ना तो समय से उठते हैं, ना और ही समय से सोते हैं। बच्चों को कब पढ़ाई करनी चाहिए और कब खेलना चाहिए, यह समझना आवश्यक है। बच्चों में गलत आदतें हैं, उन्हें दूर करने के लिए कौवे की सीख लेने की बात बताई गई। यह भी बताया गया कि कौवे सुबह सबसे पहले उठा उठता है और सूरज निकलने से पहले ही जाग जाता है। इस प्रकार हमें अनुशासित जीवन और समय का कार्य करने की आदत बनानी चाहिए। कौवे केवल कौवे अकेला नहीं कौवे कौवा अकेला नहीं रहता। खतरा आने पर सारे कौवे मिलकर आवाज करते हैं और एक दूसरे की मदद करते हैं। इस प्रकार हमें एकता, टीम वर्क और परिवार के प्रति वफादारी रखनी चाहिए। कौवे बहुत चालाक पक्षी हैं। खाने पीने के लिए वह नए नए तरीके सोचते हैं। पानी के बर्तन में पत्थर डालकर पानी ऊपर लाने की कहानी सभी बच्चों ने सुनी है। इस प्रकार मुश्किल में दिमाग लगाकर हल निकालना और मेहनत से हार ना मानना सीखना चाहिए।
वेरी नाइस, थैंक यू अशोक सर ये लिखने के लिए। तो आपसे हमें दो तीन चीजें जो हमने सीखी आपके राइट अप से, आपके रिफ्लेक्शन से, वो है कि कौवे काफी क्रिएटिव है, तो हम सबको क्रिएटिव होना चाहिए। टाइम मैनेजमेंट के बारे में भी आपने बात करी, और साथ ही साथ आपने क्यूरियोसिटी के भी बारे में बात करी है कि किस तरीके से क्यूरियोसिटी और क्रिएटिविटी के साथ हम आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। टीम लीडरशिप भी आपने बताया कि उसके बिना कुछ नहीं है। और सो के सुबह जल्दी उठना यानी सेल्फ अवेयरनेस की भी आप यहाँ पे बात कर रहे हैं। तो देखा जाए तो ये कुछ चीजें जो है बहुत ज्यादा ही हमारी लाइफ के लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है, एंड जो सब में होनी चाहिए। बच्चे भी आजकल के बहुत स्मार्ट है और वो करते हैं, बट समहाउ चूंकि रात को टाइम पे वो शायद सो नहीं पाते, इसलिए उठ नहीं पाते। बट यस, अपना टाइम मैनेज करना और किस तरीके से बेस्ट अपना देना, अब आजकल के बच्चे भी सीख रहे हैं। तो नया हमारा राइटर पे सुनीता त्रिपाठी मैम की तरफ से। सुनीता मैम, आप पढ़ना चाहेंगे? आप हैं यहाँ पे, या कोई और जो अवेलेबल है इस समय?
हाँ, कुछ लोगों ने कहा है कि वो पढ़ना चाहेंगे, पर अब उनको दिख नहीं रहा ठीक।
स्वराज, स्वराज प्लीज पढ़िए। स्वराज, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही। संगीता मैम, आप पढ़ना चाहेंगे?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ जी, प्लीज स्वराज, गो अहेड।
हफ्ता कितना सही पर सब कुछ बेहतर नहीं। लेकिन इस अध्याय से यह सीखने को मिला कि एक सच्ची मुस्कान के अतिरिक्त सुंदरता बल्कि व्यक्तित्व ही सबसे बड़ी ताकत है। रोमा ने हर प्रतिष्ठित में धैर्य, विनम्रता और सकारात्मक व्यवहार बनाए रखा। रात की कठिन ड्यूटी और थकान के बावजूद उसने अपने कर्तव्य का पालन पूरी ईमानदारी और सम्मान के साथ। एक शिक्षक के रूप में यह कहानी हमें प्रेरित करती है कि हमारे संस्कार, मधुर वाणी और सकारात्मक व्यवहार विद्यार्थियों के मन में विश्वास और अपनापन पैदा करते हैं। पढ़ाई केवल पुस्तकों तक सीमित नहीं होती, बल्कि हमारे व्यवहार और संस्कार भी बच्चों के जीवन पर गहरा प्रभाव डालते हैं। इस अध्याय ने मुझे यह महसूस कराया कि सफलता केवल ज्ञान से नहीं बल्कि अच्छे व्यवहार, धैर्य, सहानुभूति और सेवा भाव से भी प्राप्त होती है। यदि हम हर व्यक्ति के साथ सम्मानपूर्वक और मुस्कुराकर बात करें तो कठिन परिस्थितियों भी सरल बन सकती। यही गुण एक श्रेष्ठ शिक्षक और एक अच्छे इंसान की पहचान। सुनीता त्रिपाठी। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू सो मच। बहुत ही अच्छा लेख था आपका। और धैर्य, सहानुभूति, सेवा भाव से हमारी लाइफ कहाँ से कहाँ पहुंच जाएगी, किस तरीके से हम एकता में अनेकता पे विश्वास करते हैं और किस तरीके से हम हर लड़ाई को, हर परेशानी को छोड़ के आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। आपके लेख ने बहुत ही अच्छे से इसके बारे में चिंतन करके हमें बताया है। उसके लिए बहुत 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 धन्यवाद। संगीता मैम, आप नेक्स्ट वाला पढ़ना चाहेंगे या
हाँ,
स्वाति
ओके
सिंह है
मैम।
या? हाँ जी मैम, प्लीज।
ओके मैम, ओके मैम, थैंक यू। जय हिंद मैम।
जय हिंद।
सुप्रभात एवं जय हिंद। आज की जीएसए क्लास में हमें एक कहानी सुनाई गई जिसका नाम था सदाबहार कौवा। इस कहानी के माध्यम से हमें यह बताने की कोशिश की गई कि मुश्किल समय में भी हिम्मत नहीं हारनी चाहिए। हमें थोड़ी सी समझदारी से काम लेना चाहिए और निराश नहीं होना चाहिए। जहाँ चाह होती है वहाँ मंजिल मिल ही जाती है। हमें अपने आसपास के पेड़ों और जानवरों की सुरक्षा करनी चाहिए। कौवा बहुत बुद्धिमान पक्षी होता है। वह मुश्किल समय में भी शांत दिमाग से रास्ता निकाल लेता है। कौवे हमेशा समूह में रहते हैं। इससे हमें एकता में शक्ति का पाठ मिलता है। हमें भी कौवे की तरह हिम्मत नहीं हारनी चाहिए। सही तरीके से किया गया काम हमेशा सफल होता है। शांत दिमाग से सोचने पर कठिन काम भी आसान हो जाता है। सदाबहार कौवे की कहानी हमें यह मुख्य सीख मिलती है। मुश्किल समय में भी हिम्मत नहीं हारनी चाहिए। इसके बजाय हमें अपनी बुद्धि और धैर्य का इस्तेमाल करके किसी भी समस्या का समाधान खोजना चाहिए। इसीलिए कहा जाता है, जहाँ चाह होती है वहां राह अपने आप ही बन जाती है। धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू सो मच मैम। बहुत ही प्यारा लिखा है आपने रिफ्लेक्शन। और इसके साथ हम आगे हैं आखिर की तरफ रिफ्लेक्शन के। तो ये संगम जी साठे का आखिरी रिफ्लेक्शन हम पढ़ना चाहेंगे। तो कौन वॉलेंटियर कर रहा है पढ़ने के लिए? संगम सिंह साठे का रिफ्लेक्शन कौन पढ़ना चाहेगा? अल्फा पढ़ना चाहेंगे?
यस मैम।
आप पढ़ना चाहेंगे ये संगम जी साठे का रिफ्लेक्शन?
जय हिंद मैम। जय हिंद। आज की कक्षा में एक कहानी सुनाई गई जिसका नाम सदाबहार कौवा था।
कौवा।
इस कहानी से हमें यह सीख मिलती है कि जहाँ चाह होती है वहाँ राह होती है। यह कहानी सिखाती है कि विपरीत परिस्थितियों में भी हमें हिम्मत नहीं हारना चाहिए। अपनी बुद्धि और निरंतर प्रयास से हर समस्या का समाधान निकाला जा सकता है। साक्षी पटेल, कक्षा 8।
थैंक यू सो मच। और चूंकि 12 के करीब का टाइम हो रहा है, तो अब हम कोशिश करेंगे कि अपनी किताब को आगे बढ़ाते। और कहानी में हमने पहले ही देखा है कि किस तरीके से कौवा को लगता है कि उसको हर चीज लेने और घरों से सामान उठाने की छूट होनी चाहिए, और वो अपने आप को कंपेयर भी कर रहा है काफी हद तक इंसानों से। तो यहाँ पे इंसान, मनुष्य और जानवरों का बहुत ही अच्छा कंपैरिजन देखा गया है, और किस तरीके से कौवा हर परिस्थिति में, हर मुसीबतों से लड़के आगे बढ़ता है और अपनी फैमिली का, अपने कंपेनियंस का, अपने फ्रेंड्स का ध्यान रखता है। तो कहानी को आगे बढ़ाते हैं और देखते हैं उसमें क्या हुआ। हमारे मूल्य अलग तरह के हो गए हैं बेटा, जैसे कौवे के अंडे की जगह मुर्गी के अंडे खाना। यह बात उनके पक्ष में है। तुम यहाँ आमों के गिरने का इंतजार करो, मैं उस परिवार का पता लगाने के लिए निकल रहा हूँ। स्लो की चोंच खुली रह गई। वह बहुत भूखा कौवा लग रहा था। तुम मुझसे यह मत कहना कि तुम हिल स्टेशन तक उनका पीछा करने जा रहे हो। ये भी नहीं जानते कि वे कहाँ ठहरे हुए हैं। मैं जल्द ही पता लगा लूंगा, मैंने कहा और पहाड़ियों की ओर रवाना हो गया। यह जानकर आपको आश्चर्य होगा कि एक अच्छा जासूस बनना कितना सरल है। बस आपको अपना दिमाग लगाना है। बेशक अगर एले एलईडी क्वीन उड़ सकती तो उसे कोई केस सुलझाने के लिए 15 अध्यायों और अपने पिता की सहायता की जरूरत नहीं होती। हिल स्टेशन पर निचाई पर उड़ते हुए मुझे उस परिवार की पुरानी कार देखने में देर नहीं लगी। उसे एक बोर्डिंग हाउस के बाहर पार्क किया गया था, जिसे क्लाइंबर्सन रेस्ट कहा जाता है। मैंने किसी को चढ़ते हुए तो नहीं देखा, लेकिन बगीचे में आराम कुर्सी पर ऊँघते हुए मेरा पसंदीदा इंसान जरूर मौजूद था। तो कहानी में पीछे ये भी हुआ है कि सब लोग घूमने के लिए बाहर चले गए, क्योंकि साल में एक बार घूमना जाना सबको बहुत ही पसंद था। और किस तरीके से कौवा सबको मिस कर रहा था, और वो इधर उधर उन्हें खोज भी रहा था और देख भी रहा था कि आगे कैसे उसको खाना मिलना चाहिए और किस तरीके से वो अपने आप को और अपने फ्रेंड्स को सही तरीके से रख सकता है। मैं एक रंगीन छतरी के ऊपर बैठ गया और जूनियर साहब के उठने का इंतजार करने लगा। मैंने फैसला किया कि उसकी नींद में खलल डालना मेरे लिए ठीक नहीं होगा, इसलिए मैं धैर्यपूर्वक छतरी पर इंतजार कर रहा था। मेरी एक आंख उस पर लगी थी, जैसे एक आंख घर पर थी। वो बेचैनी से हिला, मानो उसने अचानक कोई बुरा सपना देखा हो। फिर उसने अपनी आंखें खोली। उसकी नजर सबसे पहले मुझ पर ही गई गई होगी। गुड मॉर्निंग, मैंने दोस्ताना लहजे में काऊ काऊ किया। आखिर माफ करके भूल जाना हमेशा से स्पीडी का स्वभाव रहा है। वह आराम कुर्सी से कूदा और जोर जोर से चिल्लाते हुए घर की ओर भागा। मुझे लगा कि वह मुझे फिर से देखकर अपनी खुशी को रोक नहीं पाया होगा। इंसान इसी तरह मजेदार हो सकता है। वे एक दिन वे आपसे नफरत करेंगे और अगले दिन आपसे प्यार करेंगे। तो बहुत ही प्यार से यहाँ कौवा कह रहा है कि मैंने उन लोगों को परेशान भी बहुत किया, उस फैमिली को, पर वो मुझे देख के बहुत ही ज्यादा खुश हो रहे हैं। सो यही आपकी पर्सपेक्टिव्स है। कुछ चीजें आपको खराब होते हुए भी अच्छी दिखती है और कुछ चीजें अच्छी होते हुए भी खराब दिखती है। तो कौवे का परसेप्शन यही था कि सब लोग बहुत ही खुश हो गए उसको देख करके। खैर, जूनियर साहब पूरे बोर्डिंग हाउस में दौड़ा, चिल्लाया, यह वही कौवा है, यह वही कौवा है। वह हर जगह मेरे पीछा कर रहा है। परिवार समेत तमाम लोग ये देखने के लिए बाहर की ओर दौड़े कि हंगामा किस बात का है। तब मैंने सोचा कि फिलहाल यहाँ से हट जाना बेहतर होगा, इसलिए मैं उड़कर फर के साथ फर के पेड़ के ऊपर जा बैठा। वहां बहुत स्थित और शांत होकर बैठे सब कुछ देखता रहा। कौवा कहाँ है कौवा? कर्नल ने कहा। हमारा कौवा, जूनियर साहब चिल्लाया, वही जो मुझे सताता है। अभी तो मैं उसका सपना देख रहा था, और जब मैंने अपनी आंखें खोली तो वह बगीचे की छतरी पर बैठा था। मेम साहब ने कहा, अब वहां कुछ भी नहीं है, तुम शायद पूरी तरीके से जागे नहीं थे और उन्हें फिर से भ्रम हो रहा था। लड़के ने कहा, गलतफहमी हो रही है, कर्नल ने सुधारा। देखो, मेम साहब ने कहा, तुम्हें खुद को संभालना होगा, नहीं तो तुम्हारे होश ठिकाने नहीं रहेंगे। मैं आपसे कह तो रहा हूँ, वह यही है, जूनियर ने सुबकते हुए कहा। वह हर जगह मेरा पीछा कर रहा है। वह अंकल पर फिदा हो गया है, लड़के ने कहा, और ऐसा लगता है कि अंकल कौवे के बिना नहीं रह सकते। जूनियर साहब ने आंखों में अजीब सी चमक के साथ ऊपर देखा। यही बात है, वह रोया। मैं उनके बिना नहीं रह सकता। मेरी समस्या का यही समाधान है। मैं कौवे से नफरत नहीं करता, मैं तो उन्हें प्यार करता हूँ। सब लोग जूनियर साहब को घूरते हुए खड़े हो गए। मैं अब ठीक महसूस कर रहा हूँ, उसने कहा। इससे क्या फर्क पड़ता है कि आप जो पहले कर रहे थे, अब उसके ठीक विपरीत करते रहेंगे। मैं सोचता था कि मुझे कौवों से नफरत है, लेकिन असल में तो मैं उन्हें हमेशा प्यार करता था। और अपनी बाहों को फड़फड़ाते हुए और एक कौवे की तरह कांव कांव करने की कोशिश करते हुए बगीचे में इधर उधर घूमने लगा। तो कहानी में ये बताया गया कि किस तरीके से एक कौवा और एक फैमिली की फ्रेंडशिप हो गई थी, और जो कि गहरी होती जा रही थी। न अब कौवा मिल पा रहा था फैमिली के साथ क्योंकि वो बाहर चले गए थे, और न ही फैमिली उनको उस कौवे को भूल पा रही थी। कौवे की जो हरकतें थी, हर समय वो एक दूसरे को भगाते रहते थे, एक दूसरे के पीछे भागते रहते थे, उसका इम्प्रेशन किस तरीके से उनके स्मृति में है और किस तरीके से वो मिस कर रहे हैं, खूबसूरत तरीके से इन लफ्जों में इन्होंने यहाँ पे बताया है। उन्हें लग रहा है कि वह एक कौवा है, लड़के ने कहा। क्या वह अब भी भ्रम में है? मेम साहब ने कहा, यह सही है, यह एक शानदार भ्रम है। इसके बाद परिवार ने फैसला किया कि अब हिल स्टेशन में रहने का कोई मतलब नहीं है। जूनियर साहब ना आराम का इलाज पूरा कर चुका था, और यहाँ तक कि अगर वह अकेला था तो मानता था कि वह ठीक हो गया है, तो वह ठीक था, क्योंकि आखिरकार उसका ये मानना ही तो मायने रखता था। अगर आप ठीक महसूस कर रहे हैं, तो क्या आपको आपके साथ कुछ गलत हो सकता है? सभी बंगले में वापस आ गए तो जूनियर साहब रोज सुबह सुबह घास पर नंगे पांव फुदकने लगा। वह हर कौवे के लिए भोजन बिखेरते रहता। ब्रेड, चपाती, पके हुए चावल, बैंगन करी और मेम साहब के घर की बनी टॉफी, सब कुछ हमें मिलने लगी। स्लो और मैं सबसे पहले भोर में ही इन सब का मजा उड़ाने लगे, और जल्द ही दूसरे कौवे भी अपने साथ लॉन में जुटने लगे। इससे हमें कोई आपत्ति नहीं थी। जूनियर साहब सबके लिए बहुत कुछ लाता था। स्लो ने कहा, हमें किसी तरह से उसका सम्मान करना चाहिए। हाँ हाँ, क्यों नहीं, मैंने कहा। सैकड़ों साल पहले किसी ने पक्षियों को दाना डाला था। वह जहां कहीं जाता, पक्षी उसके पीछे हो जाते। यह सही है, उन्होंने उसे संत बना दिया था, लेकिन जहां तक मुझे पता है, उसने किसी कौवे को नहीं खिलाया था। कम से कम तस्वीरों में तो कोई कौवा नजर नहीं आता। उनमें तो बस गौरैया, रॉबिन और खंजन पक्षी दिखते हैं। यह तो मामूली बात है। तमाम इंसान खास तौर पर कौवे को समर्पित है। क्या तुम्हें इसका एहसास है, स्लो? हाँ है। हमें उसे कौवे का संरक्षण संत बनाना चाहिए। तुम सबकी क्या राय है, दोस्तों? काऊ काऊ काऊ, सभी कौवे एक मत थे। जैसे ही जूनियर साहब हमारे खाने के लिए अच्छी चीजों से लदा घर से निकला, स्लो ने कहा, संत कौवा, काऊ काऊ काऊ। हम एक साथ चिल्लाए। फिर तो क्या ही सुंदर दृश्य बना। एक कौवा उसके हाथ से खा रहा था, दूसरा उसके कंधे पर बैठा हुआ था, और हम में से लगभग एक दर्जन ने घास पर बैठकर उसके चारों ओर एक सम्मानजनक घेरा बना लिया था। उत्पीड़क से रक्षक तक, पाशविकता से साधुता तक, और कभी कभी इसके विपरीत भी हो सकता था। आप इंसानों की फितरत कभी नहीं जान सकते। इसके साथ ये चैप्टर यहीं पे खत्म होता है, और मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी आप सबसे मुझे ये बताने के लिए कि आपने इस चैप्टर से क्या सीखा है। सदाबहार कौवा आपको किस चीज के लिए प्रेरित कर रहा है, और आप क्या चाहते हैं कि आपकी लाइफ में क्या चेंजेस आए इस कहानी के बाद? सर आप, जुगजीव सर, आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे? सर ये अनम्यूट, ये म्यूटेड।
नहीं नहीं, मैं कुछ नहीं कहना चाहूंगा। लेट्स वेट फॉर, एक चैट में है, चैट में है। कौवा हमें ये सिखाता है कि बुद्धिमानी, धैर्य और अवसर का सही उपयोग बहुत जरूरी होता है।
हाँ जी, बहुत ही सही कहा है आपने। धैर्य, बुद्धिमान, बुद्धिमान तो है ये कौवा बहुत ही ज्यादा। और ये कंकड़ और पानी की कहानी, पॉट वाली कहानी सबने ही सुनी है कि किस तरीके से अपनी बुद्धि के कारण वो पानी पीने में आगे बढ़ जाता है कौवा। रेजिलियंस भी कौवा हमें सिखाता है कि हमें किसी भी काम को कंप्लीट करना चाहिए और कभी भी हार नहीं माननी चाहिए। तो कौवे से हम ये भी सीखते हैं कि कभी हार ना माना जाए। तो काफी चीज हमने इस कहानी से सीखी। और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीजें जो मुझे समझ में आई, जो मैंने इस कहानी से सीखी, वो ये है कि कंपैरिजन नहीं करना चाहिए। हमें हमेशा अपने आप में रहना चाहिए और अपने हिसाब से चलना चाहिए, न कि अपने आप को किसी के साथ कंपेयर करके कुछ और करना चाहिए। क्योंकि जब तक हम अपने बारे में सोच के और अपने स्ट्रेंथ के हिसाब से आगे बढ़ते हैं, तो हम हमेशा अपना बेस्ट दे सकते हैं। वही हम जब कंपैरिजन करते हैं, हम किसी और की तरह बनना चाहते हैं, तो हम अपना बेस्ट देने में कभी कभी वो काबिलियत हमारे अंदर नहीं आ सकती है। तो हमेशा हमें अपना बेस्ट तभी मिलेगा जब हम अपने आप के साथ रहेंगे, न कि दूसरों के पीछे जा करके उनके हिसाब से काम करने की कोशिश करेंगे। कोई और कुछ फीडबैक देना चाहेगा इस मामले में?
नहीं मैम, हमने पिछली कहानी में पढ़ा था कि हिरोया कंपेयर करता था अपने भाई को, और अपने आप को, मतलब अपने आप को तो यूजलेस समझ रहा था। राइट, कंपैरिजन, कंपैरिजन की वजह से ही वो सोच रहा था उसने ये कर लिया, उसने कर लिया, मैं कुछ कर नहीं पाया। तो मतलब कंपैरिजन उस तरीके से भी मतलब हमारे लिए ठीक नहीं है।
हाँ जी सर,
जैसे आपने
बिल्कुल।
कहा, मतलब जो आपको करना है आपको करना है।
कंपैरिजन कभी भी सही नहीं रहता है, क्योंकि हर इंसान यूनिक है, हर इंसान अलग है। सबकी अपनी अपनी स्ट्रेंथ है, सबके अपने अपने चैलेंजेस है। तो अपने चैलेंजेस को अपनी स्ट्रेंथ बनाना हमें सीखना चाहिए। वो स्किल के थ्रू हो सकता है। और वैसे किस तरीके से अपने चैलेंजेस को हम स्ट्रेंथ पे कन्वर्ट करते हैं, वो हम अपने स्किल से सीखेंगे और उस हिसाब से हम समझेंगे और लाइफ को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। कंपैरिजन तो कहीं से भी सही नहीं रहता है आगे बढ़ने के लिए। बट हाँ, रोल मॉडल अगर कोई आपका है, तो आप रोल मॉडल से आप सीख सकते हैं, उनको समझ सकते हैं और उस सीख और समझ के साथ आप आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। दैट इज द बेस्ट पार्ट। कोई अपने थॉट बोलना चाहेगा? संगीता मैम, आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे? इशैल ने लिखा है, मैं इशैल ने क्या लिखा वो पढ़ना चाहूंगी। इशैल ने लिखा है कि हमने सीखा है कि बुद्धि से हर समस्या का हल निकाला जा सकता है। कौवा एक चतुर पक्षी है जो हमें सूझबूझ से जीना सिखाता है। वेरी गुड इशैल। और मैं चाहूंगी कि शैल आप अपना राइटअप मुझे भेजिए, सम क्रिएटिव राइटअप, या आप डूडल भी कर सकते हैं, आप लिख करके भी भेज सकते हैं। ऑडियो नोट, वीडियो नोट, सब कुछ वेलकम है। आपको जो पसंद आए उस तरीके से लिखिए और लिख करके हमें भेजिए। विद दैट, जुगजीव सर, लास्ट वर्ड फॉर यू।
Well, thank you ma'am, thank you very much, and see you all next Sunday.
थैंक यू सो मच एवरीवन फॉर कमिंग। सी यू नेक्स्ट वीक, नेक्स्ट संडे, नई कहानी के साथ, नए लर्निंग के साथ और नए चीजों को समझ के आगे बढ़ करके इंटरेक्शन करेंगे हम। थैंक यू। सी यू, बाय बाय, टेक केयर।